firing squad assembled at 0500 hours, just like always. 6 men in perfect formation, last guns loaded, safeties off. I stood in the second rank, 3 paces behind the front line, watching the back of Private Garen's head. His uniform was immaculate. Every button gleamed like a tiny mirror. His boots reflected the dim artificial lights of the parade ground. His posture was textbook perfect. Shoulders back, spine straight, weapon at a precise 45-degree angle. They were going to kill him anyway. The offense was minor. A loose thread on his left cuff, no more than 2 centimeters long. Lieutenant Drask had noticed it during morning inspection. That was 3 hours ago. Now Garen stood against the execution wall, still at attention, still perfect in every way except that one thread. He didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't even look scared. That's what they do to you on Mordian. They drill the fear out, replace it with something else. Something colder. First rank ready. The command cut through the morning air like a knife. I watched the 6 men in front of me raise their weapons in perfect synchronization. Not a single barrel wavered. Not one finger trembled. Aim. Red dots appeared on Garen's chest. 6 perfect points of light clustered tight over his heart. He kept staring straight ahead, past the firing squad, past the walls of Hive Tetrak, past everything. His lips moved slightly. A prayer, maybe. Or just the words we all learned in training. For the Emperor, for Mordian, for discipline. Fire. The last bolts hit simultaneously. 6 shots, 1 target, perfect execution. Garen's body slumped against the wall, smoke rising from the holes in his uniform. The smell of burned flesh mixed with the ever-present chemical stench of the hive. Another day on Mordian. Another guardsman dead, another lesson learned. Lieutenant Drask walked past our formation without looking at the body. Dismissed. Morning drill begins in 5 minutes. Anyone late reports to the punishment detail. We marched away, boots hitting the ground in perfect rhythm. Left, right, left, right. The body would be collected later, processed into corpse starch, recycled like everything else on this Emperor-forsaken world. Nothing wasted, nothing mourned. Just another resource returned to the system. My name is Talrin Maikev. I'm 18 years old, born in Hive Tetrak on the dark side of Mordian. I've been in the Iron Guard for 2 years. I've seen 47 men executed for uniform violations. I've stood in 23 firing squads myself. I've pulled the trigger 23 times. I remember every face. This is my life. This is our life. This is what it means to be Mordian Iron Guard. Let me tell you how it began. Mordian is a world caught between fire and ice. One side faces the sun forever, baked in radiation and heat that can melt steel. The other side lives in eternal darkness, frozen solid, lifeless and dead. We live in the thin band between the two, in the twilight zone where temperatures barely reach survivable. Even there, we can't spread out. The habitable region covers maybe 1/10 the size of Holy Terra, crammed with billions of people packed into pyramid hives that rise kilometers into the poisoned sky. I was born on the 147th level of Hive Tetrak, in a hab unit measuring 3 meters by 4 meters. My parents, my 2 sisters, my grandfather, and me. 6 people in 12 square meters. The walls were so thin I could hear every conversation, every argument, every sob from our neighbors. Privacy was a concept for the wealthy, the nobles who lived in the upper spires. Down where we lived, privacy meant death. You watched everyone, everyone watched you. That's how you survived. The lights never went out completely. Artificial luminaries provided a constant dim glow, enough to see by, but never enough to feel comfortable. The tetrarchy that ruled Mordian believed in discipline through discomfort. Sleep came in shifts, scheduled and rationed like everything else. Food arrived in preset amounts at preset times. Water was measured to the milliliter. Waste disposal was monitored. Every breath, every movement, every moment of your existence tracked and controlled. I was 7 years old the first time I saw someone jump. It was a woman from the level above ours. I never learned her name. She climbed up to the maintenance catwalks, out where the supports held the next level above, and she just stepped off. No scream, no hesitation. Just a calm walk into empty air. Her body fell past our HAB unit window, a silent shape dropping through the darkness. 15 seconds later, I heard the distant crash as she hit bottom, somewhere down in the lower levels where the recyclers and the corpse starch processors worked day and night. "Don't look," my father said. His hand covered my eyes, but too late. I'd already seen. Don't think about it. But I did think about it. Everyone thought about it. Mordian had the highest suicide rate in the Imperium, at least after Nostromo got destroyed. The numbers were kept quiet, but everyone knew. When life is measured in rations and discipline, when every day brings the same grinding routine of scarcity and control, some people chose the only freedom left to them. They chose to fall. My father worked as an enforcement officer for the local Arbeit station. Low level, mostly paperwork and crowd control, but he understood the system better than most. One night after my sisters were asleep and my grandfather was snoring in his corner, he sat me down and explained the truth. "You want to know why we live like this?" His voice was barely a whisper. Walls had ears on Mordian. Someone was always listening. It's not just the planet. It's not just the scarcity. It's the people. Put this many humans in this small A space. Give them too little to survive on, and they'll tear each other apart in hours. He pulled out a data slate, one of the old ones they gave to enforcement officers. The screen showed grainy footage of a riot. Thousands of people surging through a lower-level market, smashing everything, killing anyone who got in their way. The timestamp was dated 3 years before I was born. "Food shortage in District 7, he said. Shipment came in light, only 80% of expected rations. Within 4 hours, we had a full uprising. 6,000 dead before the Iron Guard restored order." The footage switched. Now it showed soldiers in bright uniforms, moving in perfect formation. They advanced through the chaos like a machine, each step synchronized. When they fired, it was in volleys, precise and devastating. Bodies dropped in neat lines. The crowd tried to run, tried to fight, tried to scatter. But the Iron Guard just kept marching forward, kept firing, kept killing until the streets ran with blood. "This is why," my father said, "without the Iron Guard, without discipline, without absolute control, Mordian dies. We're too many people in too small a space. The only thing keeping us from destroying ourselves is fear. Fear of the enforcers, fear of the Tetrarchy, fear of the Iron Guard." He shut off the data slate. "You're almost conscription age. In 9 years, you'll report for service. Everyone serves. Everyone must. Because the moment the military stops controlling the population, the moment discipline breaks down, we all die." I was 8 years old when I understood I was born into a prison. By the time I was 14, I knew the guards were just as trapped as the prisoners. The food riot came without warning, like they always did. One day the rations arrived short, just a few percentage points, barely noticeable. But on Mordian, where every calorie is calculated, where every meal is planned to provide exactly what you need to survive and nothing more, even a small shortage means hunger. I was walking back from my mandatory education session when the crowd started forming. At first, it was just people gathering at the distribution points, demanding answers. Voices raised, hands gesturing, the low murmur of angry people realizing they'd been shorted. Then someone threw a rock. That's all it takes. One rock, one act of defiance, and suddenly everyone remembers they're angry. Everyone remembers they're hungry. Everyone remembers that the people in the upper levels never go short on rations, never feel their stomachs cramping with emptiness. The crowd surged forward. The distribution center's gates came down, but the people just climbed over them. Inside, they found the storage units half full, not empty, not even close to empty. They'd been shorted deliberately. The excess stored for later trade or shipped to the upper levels. The rage that erupted was like nothing I'd ever seen. I ran. That's what you do when riots start. You get off the streets, you get behind walls, you wait for the Iron Guard. They always come. They always restore order. The sound of marching reached me before I saw them. Perfect rhythm, thousands of boots hitting metal floors in absolute unity. Left, right, left, right. The sound echoed through the hab levels like a drum beat, like the heartbeat of some enormous machine. Then they appeared. The Mordian Iron Guard came around the corner in perfect formation, 10 ranks deep, 100 men wide. Their uniforms were brilliant even in the dim light. Blue coats with gold trim, white pants with perfect creases, boots polished to mirrors. They looked like soldiers from an old painting, like ceremonial troops at a parade. But their weapons were loaded, and their faces were cold. The crowd saw them coming. Some people tried to run. Others stood their ground, thinking the soldiers were there to help, to explain, to fix the shortage. They were wrong. First rank ready. The command cut through the noise of the riot. Aim! Red dots appeared across the crowd, hundreds of them, precise targeting. The people in front started to understand, started to back away, too late. Fire! The last gun spoke in perfect unison, a single sound, a single burst of light, a single moment of death. The front rank of rioters dropped like puppets with cut strings. The smell of burnt flesh filled the air. Screams started, real screams, terror and pain and the sudden understanding that this wasn't a negotiation. Second rank ready. Aim. Fire. Another volley. More bodies. The Iron Guard advanced 10 paces, maintaining perfect formation. Their movements were mechanical, practiced, automatic, every step measured, every shot calculated. The crowd broke and ran, but there was nowhere to go. The hab-level corridors only had 2 exits, and the Iron Guard controlled both. Third rank, ready. Aim. Fire. I watched from a maintenance hatch 3 levels above. I watched the Iron Guard work through the crowd with systematic efficiency. I watched them stack the bodies in neat piles afterward, organized by size for easier processing. I watched them clean their weapons and polish their boots and maintain their perfect appearance, even while standing in pools of blood. It took 4 hours to restore order. The official count was 843 dead, 2,107 wounded. The food shortage was never mentioned again. The rations came in full the next day. That night, lying in my hab unit, listening to my sisters crying quietly in the dark, I understood what my future held. In 2 years, I would receive my conscription notice. In 2 years, I would become one of those soldiers. I would wear the uniform. I would stand in formation. I would fire into crowds of hungry people. I would become the thing I feared. The notice came on my 16th birthday, delivered by a servo skull at exactly 0600 hours. A small data wafer, official seal of the Tetrarchy, my name and identification number printed in neat Gothic script. Talren Mikev, ID number MDN1478821T. You're hereby conscripted into the Mordian Iron Guard, 89th Regiment, effective immediately. Report to Processing Center Alpha, 12 at 0800 hours today. Failure to comply will result in summary execution. For the Emperor. For Mordian. My mother didn't cry. She'd known this was coming. Everyone knew. On Mordian, conscription wasn't a question of if, but when. Nearly every citizen served in the military. It was the only way to maintain control, the only way to keep billions of people from tearing each other apart. My father helped me dress in my civilian uniform. Even civilians maintained military bearing on Mordian. Pressed shirt, clean pants, polished shoes. Your appearance reflected your discipline reflected your loyalty determined whether you lived or died. Remember, he said quietly, perfect is the only acceptable standard. Anything less is death. I arrived at Processing Center Alpha 12 with 15 minutes to spare. The center was a massive structure, part of the military complex that dominated the central levels of Hive Tetrak. Thousands of young men and women stood in perfect lines, waiting to be processed. All of us 16 years old, all of us conscripted, all of us terrified despite our expressionless faces. A sergeant walked down the lines, inspecting each recruit with mechanical precision. He stopped in front of me, his eyes scanning from my boots to my hair. Name: Talren Mikev, Sergeant. Look at me when you speak, recruit. I met his eyes. They were gray and cold, utterly empty of emotion. You will address me as Sergeant Kale. You will speak only when spoken to. You will obey every order without question or hesitation. Failure to comply will result in punishment. Repeated failure will result in execution. Do you understand? Yes, Sergeant Kale. He moved on. The inspection continued. One recruit, a girl from the lower levels with scars on her hands, had a stain on her shirt. Small thing, barely visible. The sergeant noticed. You, step forward. She obeyed, her face pale but composed. Explain this. He pointed at the stain. I spilled some water this morning, Sergeant. I tried to clean it, but the last pistol appeared in his hand faster than I could follow. One shot. The girl dropped. The sergeant holstered his weapon and continued down the line without breaking stride. Recruits will maintain proper appearance at all times. Next. No one moved. No one spoke. The girl's body lay where it fell, smoke rising from the hole in her chest. The smell of burned meat mixed with the chemical stench of the processing center. My first lesson in the Iron Guard: perfection or death. We were herded into the processing center like cattle, stripped of our civilian clothes, issued military fatigues, assigned serial numbers. I became MIG 8914-78821T. My name still existed, but only barely. The number mattered more. The processing took hours. Medical scans to check for diseases or defects. Dental work to fix any problems. Basic vaccinations against the countless plagues that could sweep through a regiment. Genetic testing to ensure we were pure human stock, not corrupted by mutation or taint. Then came the first uniform fitting. A tech servitor measured me with mechanical precision, every dimension recorded, every measurement logged. The uniform they gave me was too perfect to be real. Blue coat with gold trim, brass buttons gleaming, white pants with creases sharp enough to cut. The boots were mirror polished. The cap sat at exactly the regulation angle. You will maintain this standard, the servitor intoned in its dead voice. Deviation from regulation appearance will result in punishment. Deviation from perfect appearance will result in execution. I stared at my reflection in a polished metal panel. I looked like a toy soldier, like something from a parade ground, not like someone going to war. The uniform was beautiful. It was also a target, but that was the point. Mordian Iron Guard didn't hide, didn't use camouflage, didn't care about practicality. The uniform was a statement. We are disciplined, we are perfect, we are unbreakable. That night, we were moved to the training barracks, 100 recruits in a room designed for 50. Bunks stacked 3 high, no privacy, no comfort. We slept in our uniforms, minus the boots. The lights never went fully dark, just dimmed slightly. Enough to rest, not enough to feel safe. At 0400 hours, the wake-up call came. A blast of sound that could shatter eardrums. Everyone scrambled out of their bunks, pulling on boots, standing at attention beside our beds. Sergeant Cale walked down the aisles, inspecting, looking for any flaw, any weakness. He stopped at the bunk next to mine. A boy named Heron stood at attention, his uniform perfect, almost perfect. One button on his coat was slightly loose, a tiny gap between the fabric and the metal. Inspection failed. Sergeant Cale pulled his last pistol. Heron's eyes went wide. "Sergeant, I can fix it. I just need..." The shot took him in the head. His body crumpled to the floor. The sergeant holstered his weapon and continued his inspection. "Anyone else have maintenance issues?" Silence. Absolute silence. We stood at attention, barely breathing, checking our uniforms with our eyes, praying we'd missed nothing. Good. Morning drill begins in 30 minutes. Dress inspection in 29. Move. This was the Iron Guard. This was training. This was the rest of my life. The schedule was brutal beyond anything I'd imagined. Every minute of every day accounted for, every action monitored and judged. 0400. Wake-up call. You had exactly 30 seconds to get out of bed and stand at attention. 0401-0430. Dress inspection. Sergeant Cale, or one of the other drill instructors, would examine every recruit, every button, every thread, every crease. Any imperfection meant punishment. Significant imperfection meant death. 0430-0600. Morning drill. Marching in formation, thousands of steps, perfect rhythm, absolute synchronization. Anyone who stumbled, anyone who broke stride, anyone who showed weakness was removed from the formation. We learned quickly not to ask where they went. 0600 to 0630. Breakfast. Nutritional paste, gray and tasteless, eaten while standing at attention. No sitting, no talking. Just eating as fast as possible while maintaining proper posture. 0630 to 1200. Weapons drill. They issued us each a standard Imperial Guard laser gun, Mark IV pattern. We learned to disassemble it blindfolded, learned to reassemble it in under 30 seconds. Learned to clear malfunctions by touch alone. Learned to fire from every position imaginable. Standing, kneeling, prone, while moving, while under fire. My fingers bled from the constant drilling. The last gun's trigger guard rubbed skin raw. The barrel burned my hands when we practiced sustained fire, but we kept going, kept practicing, because stopping meant death. 1200 to 1230. Lunch. More nutritional paste, more standing at attention, more silent consumption of calories measured to provide exactly what we needed and nothing more. 1230 to 1800. Close order drill. This was what the Iron Guard was famous for. Perfect formations, synchronized volleys, bayonet charges in absolute unity. We learned to form squares, circles, lines, wedges. Learned to fire in ranks, each row discharging in sequence while the others reloaded. Learned to advance under fire without breaking formation, to hold ground against overwhelming odds, to die in place rather than retreat. The Mordian Iron Guard didn't break, ever. That was drilled into us with every repetition, every practice charge, every simulated battle. Other regiments might fall back, might take cover, might use tactics and strategy. We just stood our ground and kept firing until the enemy was dead or we were. 1800 to 1830. Evening rations. Same paste, same position, same mechanical consumption. 1830 to 2020. Equipment maintenance. This was the real test. After a full day of drilling, exhausted and bleeding and barely able to stand, we spent 3.5 hours maintaining our equipment, polishing boots until they reflected like mirrors, cleaning every piece of our last guns until no trace of carbon remained, pressing our uniforms until the creases were sharp enough to cut, checking every button, every thread, every detail. 2,200 to 0400. Sleep, 6 hours if you were lucky. Less if you had to spend extra time fixing something, or if there was a surprise inspection, or if you were selected for punishment detail. The cycle repeated, day after day, week after week, month after month. I learned to sleep while standing at attention during inspections, learned to ignore the pain in my hands from endless drilling, learned to shut off my mind and become pure reaction, pure obedience, pure discipline. The other recruits became my brothers through shared suffering. We helped each other maintain standards. Late at night, after the official lights out, we'd quietly assist each other with boot polishing, uniform pressing, weapon cleaning. We shared tips, tricks, methods to survive. Lena was from the upper levels, daughter of a minor noble family. Her family had fallen from favor somehow, and she'd been conscripted as punishment. She never talked about it, never showed emotion, just performed every task with mechanical precision. "Help me with my boots," she whispered one night. "I can't get the left one bright enough." I took the boot, applied more polish, worked the cloth in careful circles. "Why did they send you down here?" "My brother," she said quietly. "He questioned a ration distribution. They executed him, made my whole family watch. Then they conscripted me as a lesson, to show what happens when nobles forget their place." Her voice never wavered, never showed sadness or anger or anything. "That's what Mordian did to you. Drilled the emotion out, replaced it with cold discipline." "I saw him die," she continued. "Firing squad, 6 men, perfect execution, just like what happened to Heron." "Do you think about it?" "No." She took the boot back, inspecting my work. "Thinking kills you here. Feeling kills you. Just do the work. Just stay perfect. Just survive." That became our motto. Just survive. Not live, not thrive, not hope for something better. Just survive one more inspection, one more drill, one more day. 3 months into training, we had our first live fire exercise. Real targets, real ammunition, real consequences. They marched us out to the training range, a massive facility on the edge of Hive Tetrak. The range was designed to simulate real combat conditions, trenches, obstacles, cover, all the things that existed on a real battlefield. "Form ranks," Sergeant Cale's voice cut through the morning air. "First line, forward. Second line, 3 paces behind. Third line, 3 paces behind." We fell into formation automatically. Weeks of drilling made it instinctive. I was in the second rank, center file. Lena was to my right. A boy named Karth was to my left. The targets appeared at the far end of the range. Human-shaped silhouettes. The sergeant handed out live ammunition. 1 power pack per recruit. 30 shots. "You will fire on command," he said. First rank fires, then kneels. Second rank fires over them, then kneels. Third rank fires, then all ranks reload. We repeat until the targets are destroyed. Anyone who breaks rhythm will be removed from the formation, permanently. He didn't need to explain what that meant. "First rank, ready." The front line raised their weapons in perfect synchronization. "Aim!" Red dots appeared on the targets. "Fire!" The volley lit up the range. Last bolts streaked down range, hitting the targets with satisfying precision. The first rank knelt smoothly, reloading as they dropped. "Second rank ready." Aim. Fire. I pulled the trigger. The las gun kicked against my shoulder, the familiar bite I'd felt thousands of times in practice. My shot hit center mass on my designated target. The silhouette's chest exploded into smoke and debris. Third rank, ready. Aim. Fire. Another volley. The targets were in pieces now, shattered by the concentrated fire. But we kept going. The drill wasn't about destroying the targets. It was about rhythm, about discipline, about proving we could follow orders under any conditions. First rank ready. Aim. Fire. We cycled through all 30 shots. Perfect volleys, perfect timing, perfect discipline. When we finished, Sergeant Cale walked along our lines, inspecting weapons and faces. Acceptable, he said, which coming from him was high praise. You're beginning to understand what it means to be Iron Guard. This is why we drill. This is why we demand perfection. Because in battle, discipline is the only thing between you and death. He paused, his cold eyes scanning our formation. Next week we test that discipline properly. Live fire, moving targets. Your fellow recruits will play the enemy. We'll see who holds the line and who breaks. My stomach dropped. Fellow recruits as targets, which meant some of us would be doing the shooting and some would be under fire. Real lass bolts, real chance of death. Lena didn't react. Neither did Karth. None of us did. We just stood at attention, faces blank, minds already calculating how to survive what came next. The live exercise came exactly 1 week later. They divided us into 2 groups. 50 recruits would attack, 50 would defend. The defenders would have actual defensive positions, trenches and barricades. The attackers would advance across open ground. Both sides would use live ammunition but limited power settings. Enough to hurt, maybe to maim, but not to kill instantly. Unless you got hit in the head, or the heart, or the throat, or any of a dozen other places where even a reduced power las bolt could kill you. I was assigned to the defending group. We formed up in the trenches at one end of the range. The attacking group stood in perfect formation at the other end, 100 meters away. Sergeant Cale stood between the 2 formations, his voice amplified by a vox caster. This is a test of discipline under fire. Attackers will advance at standard march speed. Defenders will fire in volleys on command. You will maintain formation. You will maintain discipline. Anyone who breaks, who runs, who shows cowardice will be executed on the spot. Are there any questions? Silence. Begin. The attacking formation started forward. Left, right, left, right. Perfect rhythm, perfect spacing. They advanced like machines, like they were on a parade ground, not walking into gunfire. Defenders, ready. I raised my lace gun, sighted on the center of the formation. My hands were steady. Years of drilling made them steady, but my heart was pounding. These were my fellow recruits, people I'd trained with, people I'd helped with uniform maintenance, people who'd helped me. Aim. Red dots appeared across the advancing formation. I could see faces now, see expressions, some blank, some terrified, some resigned. Fire. The volley lit up the range. Las bolts streaked across the 100 meters, hitting the attacking formation. Men and women dropped. Some got up, injured, but moving. Others didn't. The line didn't break. The attackers kept coming, stepping over their fallen, maintaining perfect formation. Reload, ready, aim, fire. Another volley. More bodies dropped. The formation tightened, filling gaps automatically. Still coming, still perfect. 50 meters now. I could see individual faces clearly. A boy I'd shared a bunk with. A girl who'd helped me polish my boots last week. They were still marching, still perfect, still coming to kill us or die trying. Reload, ready, aim, fire. The third volley broke the formation. Too many casualties. Too few people left to maintain proper spacing. The attackers faltered, gaps appearing that couldn't be filled. Sergeant Cale's voice boomed across the range. "Reform! Maintain discipline." They tried. "Emperor," they tried. The survivors pulled together, closed ranks, continued forward, but the formation was broken. The perfect precision was gone. Fire at will. We opened up, individual shots now instead of coordinated volleys. The remaining attackers went down one by one. Some tried to take cover. Some kept marching forward despite obvious wounds. Some just stood there, waiting for death. When it ended, 23 of the 50 attackers were down. Some dead. Some injured badly enough they'd never complete training. The rest stood in ragged formation, bleeding and burned but still at attention. Sergeant Cale walked through the carnage, inspecting the wounded and the dead. "This is what happens when discipline breaks," he said. "This is what happens when formations collapse. The Iron Guard does not break. The Iron Guard does not falter. The Iron Guard stands perfect or dies perfect. Remember this." He pointed at 3 of the attackers who tried to take cover. "These 3 showed cowardice under fire. Execute them." 3 drill instructors stepped forward, las pistols drawn. 3 shots, 3 bodies. No trial, no appeal, just death. That night, lying in my bunk, listening to the quiet sobs of recruits who'd killed their friends, I realized I'd stopped feeling anything. The shock, the horror, the guilt, it was still there somewhere, buried deep, but it didn't reach my consciousness anymore. Couldn't reach it, because feeling meant thinking, and thinking meant breaking, and breaking meant death. I'd learned to be iron. 6 months into training, I was promoted to squad leader. Not because I was special, but because the previous squad leader had been executed for having a wrinkled collar. In the Iron Guard, promotions came through attrition as much as merit. My squad consisted of 10 recruits, including Lena and Karth. I was responsible for their discipline, their appearance, their survival. If they failed inspection, I got punished. If they broke formation, I got punished. If they died due to negligence, I got executed. The weight of command hit me the first morning. During dress inspection, I noticed a loose thread on one of my squad members' uniforms. A boy named Torvin, barely 17 years old. The thread was tiny, maybe a centimeter long, barely visible, but regulations were clear. Any deviation from perfect appearance had to be reported. If I reported it, Torvin would be executed. If I didn't report it and an officer noticed it during inspection, both of us would be executed. I stood there for 3 seconds, weighing 2 lives against regulations. 3 seconds that felt like hours. "Torvin," I said quietly, "fix your uniform." "Squad leader," the thread on your left cuff. "Fix it. Now." He looked down, saw it, went pale. His hands shook as he pulled out a small sewing kit every guardsman carried. He cut the thread, smoothed the fabric, checked again. Better. I inspected it closely. Perfect now. No evidence the thread had ever existed. Good. We proceed to inspection. Sergeant Cale walked down our line 5 minutes later. He stopped at Torvin, examined him closely, moved on. No comment, no punishment. That night, Torvin found me during equipment maintenance time. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me," I said. "I didn't save you. I saved myself. If you'd been executed, I'd have been held responsible. I was being selfish." But that was a lie. I'd saved him because somewhere deep inside, underneath all the drilling and the conditioning and the death, I was still human enough to care. Still human enough to try to protect the people under my command. That humanity would become my greatest weakness. The banner ceremony happened after 1 year of training. Those of us who'd survived, about 40% of the original conscripts, were assembled on the parade ground in full dress uniform. The Tetrarch himself, one of the 4 rulers of Mordian, arrived in a ground transport surrounded by guards. The regimental banner was brought out with appropriate ceremony. A massive piece of silk, 3 meters tall, hand-embroidered with the symbol of the Mordian Iron Guard. The Iron Eagle, wings spread, clutching a laser gun in one talon and a bayonet in the other. The banner represented our regiment's honor, its history, its very soul. The Tetrarch spoke, his voice amplified across the parade ground. Soldiers of the 89th Mordian Iron Guard, you have survived training, you have proven your discipline, you have demonstrated your commitment to the Emperor and to Mordian. This banner represents everything you are and everything you will become. Guard it with your lives, protect it with your blood. Never let it fall, never let it be captured. Let it be the last thing you see before you die, if necessary. We swore the oath one by one, each soldier stepping forward, placing our hand on the banner's fabric, speaking the words that would bind us forever. I swear by the Emperor and by Mordian that I will uphold this banner with my life. I will never let it fall. I will never let it be captured. I will die before I allow this sacred standard to be dishonored. I am Iron Guard. I am disciplined. I am unbreakable. When my turn came, I touched the banner and felt the silk beneath my fingers. Soft, delicate, beautiful. Worth more than my life. Worth more than any of our lives. I swore the oath. The words came automatically, drilled into me through months of training. But I meant them. Every word. Because what else did I have? What else was there except the regiment, the discipline, the endless march toward death? We received our first deployment orders 2 weeks later. The 89th Mordian Iron Guard, newly trained and ready for war, was being sent to Belmos 7. A mining world in the Segmentum Obscurus, suffering from chaos corruption. Our mission, restore order, root out heresy, maintain discipline. In other words, do what we'd always done. Kill anyone who resisted, kill anyone who questioned. Kill until order was restored or everyone was dead. The transport ship was exactly what I expected. Cramped, uncomfortable, designed to move maximum troops with minimum resources. We lived in the cargo holds. Bunks stacked 4 high, barely enough room to stand. The food was the same nutritional paste we'd eaten in training. The schedule was the same endless cycle of drill, maintenance, drill, sleep. But there was one difference. The sergeants were slightly less harsh. Executions for minor infractions decreased, not because they'd gone soft, but because we were about to face actual combat. Killing your own troops right before battle was wasteful. The journey took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of living in a metal box, breathing recycled air, never seeing the stars. Some men went mad from the confinement. They were removed from the population and lobotomized, turned into servitors, a fate some considered worse than death. Lena and I found ourselves on guard duty together one night, watching the transport's cargo holds while the rest of the regiment slept. She stood at perfect attention as always, her uniform flawless even in the dim emergency lighting. "Do you think about what comes next?" she asked quietly. "No." Liar. I almost smiled. Almost. "All right. Yes. I think about it. We're going to war against chaos, against things that shouldn't exist, against enemies that can't be reasoned with or negotiated with. We're going to see horrors that make training look pleasant. And we'll do our duty. We'll stand in formation. We'll fire on command. We'll hold the line until we're dead or victorious. What else is there?" She nodded slowly. "My brother used to talk about duty. About honor. About serving the Emperor. He believed it all. believed that following regulations and obeying orders and maintaining discipline was the path to righteousness. What happened to him? He followed regulations. He obeyed orders, he maintained perfect discipline, and they executed him anyway because someone needed a scapegoat for a food shortage. Because perfect wasn't good enough. Because on Mordian, you can do everything right and still die. Then why do we bother? Because what's the alternative? Break discipline and die immediately? Run and be hunted down? Better to play the game, follow the rules, and hope you're not the one they choose when they need someone to die. I understood what she meant. We were all playing a rigged game. The odds were always against us. Death was certain, it was just a question of when and how. But we kept playing anyway, kept marching, kept drilling, because that's all we knew how to do. The transport dropped us off at Belmos 7 spaceport. The planet was industrial, all gray metal and smoke-choked skies. Mining operations covered most of the surface, massive strip mines and processing facilities that ran day and night. The workers lived in conditions that made Mordian look pleasant. No regulations here, no discipline, just raw exploitation until your body gave out. Perfect breeding ground for chaos corruption. Colonel Drastin, commander of the 89th, briefed us in a makeshift command post near the landing zone. Chaos cultists have taken control of Mining District 7, he said, pointing at a tactical map. Approximately 10,000 hostiles, armed with mining equipment and improvised weapons. They've barricaded themselves in the district center, using workers as hostages or converts. Our orders are simple. Eliminate all resistance, restore Imperial authority, maintain discipline. He looked at us with the same cold eyes as every officer in the Mordian Iron Guard. You will advance in standard formation. You will fire on command. You will not break ranks regardless of casualties. You will not show mercy, compassion, or hesitation. The cultists chose heresy. They chose chaos. They chose death. You are merely the instruments of their choice. We deployed the next morning. 5,000 guardsmen formed into perfect ranks, marching through the industrial wasteland toward Mining District 7. Our uniforms stood out brilliantly against the gray landscape. Blue coats and white pants, brass buttons gleaming, looking like parade ground troops. The cultists saw us coming from kilometers away. They probably thought we were ceremonial soldiers, decoration troops sent to make speeches and look impressive. They were about to learn the truth about the Mordian Iron Guard. We took position outside the district perimeter. Perfect formations. Each company assigned specific zones. My squad was in the second rank, center position. If the first rank fell, we'd step forward automatically. If we fell, the third rank would step forward. The formation would hold no matter what. The cultists attacked at sunset. They poured out of the district buildings like a tide of madness. Thousands of them, faces painted with chaos symbols, bodies covered in scars and brands. They screamed prayers to the dark gods. They promised us pain and suffering and corruption. We stood silent. First rank, ready! Lieutenant Graff's voice cut through the screaming. Aim! Red dots appeared across the charging mass of cultists. Hundreds of targeting lasers painting death on human flesh. Fire! The first volley hit like a hammer. Hundreds of cultists dropped. Hundreds more stumbled over their bodies. The charge faltered for a moment, then surged forward again. Second rank, ready. Aim, fire. My turn. I pulled the trigger, felt the last gun kick, saw my target drop. A man, maybe 30 years old, face twisted in chaos-induced madness. He fell and didn't get up. Third rank, ready. Aim. Fire. The synchronized volleys continued. Mathematical precision. Every 3 seconds, another wave of death. The cultists kept coming, kept dying. Their bodies piled up 50 meters from our lines, a wall of corpses that the living had to climb over. First rank, ready. Aim, fire. The mechanical rhythm never stopped. Fire, reload, fire, reload. My hands moved automatically, performing actions drilled into muscle memory through months of training. Load power pack, charge weapon, acquire target, fire. Repeat. 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 A cultist broke through the wall of bodies, charging straight at our formation. He had a mining drill in one hand, the blade spinning, spraying blood. He was screaming, covered in the remains of his fellow cultists, absolutely insane with rage and chaos corruption. He reached our line, slammed into the first rank. The soldier he hit went down, the mining drill punching through armor and flesh. The man next to the downed soldier broke formation, stumbled backward. Lieutenant Graff appeared behind him, last pistol drawn. Maintain position, but sir, he's... The last pistol fired. The soldier dropped. The lieutenant stepped forward, shooting the cultist in the face, then resumed his position. Close ranks. Continue firing. We closed the gap automatically. The formation held. A guardsman 2 files over took the fallen soldier's place. The volleys never stopped. This was the Iron Guard. This was what the training was for. We didn't break, couldn't break. The alternative was death from the enemy, or death from our own officers. So we stood, so we fired, so we held the line. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the ground was covered in bodies. Thousands of cultists dead, their chaos-corrupted flesh already beginning to rot and decay. Our casualties were minimal. 47 dead, 92 wounded. Acceptable losses according to the after-action report. We spent the night on the battlefield, standing at our positions, maintaining discipline even surrounded by corpses. The officers walked among us, checking weapons, checking uniforms, checking for any sign of weakness or corruption. At dawn, we marched into Mining District 7. The cultists who remained surrendered or died. We gave them the choice. Those who surrendered were executed anyway. Chaos corruption couldn't be forgiven, couldn't be cleansed, could only be burned away. I shot 12 surrendering cultists that morning, 12 people who thought laying down their weapons would save them. They were wrong. I pulled the trigger 12 times, 12 faces, 12 bodies dropping. I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not guilt, not anything, just the mechanical completion of assigned tasks. Fire, confirm kill, move to next target. Lena was next to me during the executions. Her face was blank as she performed the same task. Between shots, she spoke quietly. Remember when you asked if I thought about what comes next? Yes. This is what comes next. This is all that ever comes next. Kill, march, drill, kill again. Until we die, or until the wars end, and the wars never end. No, I agreed. They don't. We finished the executions and reported to our company assembly point. The district was declared secure. Imperial authority was restored. The mining operations would resume within the week, now with fresh workers brought in to replace the dead. The cycle continued. The machine ground forward. The campaign on Belmos 7 lasted 6 months. 6 months of moving from district to district, putting down chaos uprisings, executing heretics, maintaining order through overwhelming force and perfect discipline. The tactics never changed. Form perfect ranks, advance into gunfire, hold the line, fire synchronized volleys until the enemy was dead. It worked. It always worked. The Iron Guard's reputation was well earned. We were tough, determined professionals who killed more enemies through perfect discipline than through individual skill. The elaborate parade ground uniforms misled opponents into thinking we were amateurs playing soldier. They learned otherwise, usually right before they died. But the campaign took its toll. Not in deaths, though we lost plenty of those. The toll was psychological. Every battle ground away another piece of what made us human. Every execution, every moment of violence, every night spent surrounded by corpses. We became harder, colder, more mechanical. Lena changed. She'd always been controlled, but now she was something else, completely emotionless. She followed orders with mechanical precision, never questioned, never hesitated, never showed any reaction at all. During one particularly brutal clearing operation, a child ran out of a building we were ordered to purge. Maybe 10 years old, terrified, covered in blood. Lena shot the child without breaking stride. Later, during equipment maintenance, I asked her about it. Why? Orders were to eliminate all hostiles in the building. That was a child. That was a potential chaos vector. Children corrupt easier than adults. You know this. You felt nothing. She looked at me with empty eyes. What would be the point of feeling anything? The child was dead the moment we received our orders. My feelings don't change that. They just make the work harder. She was right. Feelings made everything harder. Empathy, compassion, mercy. They were all weaknesses in this life. The Iron Guard didn't need humans. It needed machines that looked human. Soldiers who could pull the trigger without thinking, without caring, without breaking. I was becoming that machine. We all were. The campaign ended with a victory parade through the capital city of Belmos 7. 3 days of preparation, 3 days spent polishing every piece of equipment, pressing every uniform, ensuring perfect appearance. More time spent preparing for the parade than we'd spent mourning our dead. The parade itself was magnificent. 5,000 Iron Guard marching in perfect formation through streets lined with cheering civilians. Our uniforms brilliant in the sunlight, our movements synchronized, our discipline absolute. We looked like the Emperor's chosen warriors, not like exhausted killers who'd spent 6 months wading through blood. The civilians saw parade soldiers. They saw ceremony and tradition. They saw strength and order. They didn't see the firing squads, the summary executions, the soldiers who died for misplaced buttons or wrinkled collars. They didn't see the terror that kept us perfect, the fear that drove our discipline. And that was the point. The Iron Guard's true face was kept hidden. The galaxy saw the parade ground. Mordian saw the truth. After the parade, we were rotated back to Mordian for rest and recovery. A lie. There was no rest on Mordian. We returned to find the planet on the edge of another uprising. Ration shortages had triggered protests in several hive districts. The protests were becoming riots. The riots were becoming open rebellion. The 89th Mordian Iron Guard, fresh from putting down chaos cultists, was immediately deployed to put down our own people. We marched through Hive Tetrak, the same hive where I'd been born. The district was different from the one where I'd grown up, but the people looked the same. Thin, hungry, desperate. Billions of humans packed into too small a space, given too little to survive on, finally reaching their breaking point. They saw us coming, saw the Iron Guard in perfect formation, saw their own soldiers, their own people, marching to kill them. Some tried to run, others stood their ground, holding improvised weapons, ready to fight. A few just stood there, accepting their fate. "Form line!" Colonel Draston's voice echoed across the district. "First rank ready." I was in the 3rd rank now, a full corporal with my own squad under my command. My squad stood behind me, their uniforms perfect, their weapons ready. I knew some of them were thinking about home, about family, about the possibility that someone they loved was in that crowd. I wasn't thinking anything. I'd learned not to. Aim. Red dots appeared across the crowd, hundreds of targeting lasers, thousands of people about to die. Fire! The first volley cut down the front ranks of the protest. Bodies dropped. Screams started. The crowd tried to scatter, but we'd blocked all the exits. Standard crowd control procedure. Second rank ready. Aim, fire. More death, more screams. The crowd was trapped, dying, unable to escape or fight back effectively. Third rank ready. Aim, fire. I fired into the crowd, last bolt after last bolt, hitting center mass, moving to the next target, firing again. My hands were steady, my breathing was controlled, my face was blank. I was killing my own people. Maybe killing someone who'd known my family. Maybe killing someone I'd passed on the street as a child. I felt nothing. The uprising was crushed within an hour. 8,000 dead, twice that wounded. The district was placed under strict martial law. Food rations were cut further as punishment. New enforcement patrols were established. Order was restored. The machine continued. That night, back in barracks, one of my squad members approached me. A young private named Kess, barely 18, newly assigned to the 89th. Corporal Mikev, can I ask you something? Speak. How do you do it? How do you shoot people who could be your neighbors, your family? How do you not feel anything? I looked at him for a long moment, saw the fear in his eyes, the doubt, the humanity that would get him killed if he didn't learn to suppress it. You want the truth? Yes, Corporal. I don't do anything. I don't feel or not feel. I just follow orders. The moment you start thinking about who you're killing, why you're killing, whether it's right or wrong, you're done. You'll hesitate. You'll break. And they'll execute you. So you stop thinking, stop feeling, become the rifle, become the formation, become iron. But how do I stop feeling? You don't stop it. You just bury it deep. Bury it until you can't find it anymore. Until the person you were is gone and only the soldier remains. He nodded slowly, understanding starting to dawn in his eyes. Is that what happened to you, Corporal? Yes. Does it get easier? No, I said honestly. It gets harder. Every day you survive means another day of doing this. Another day of killing and drilling and maintaining perfect discipline. It never gets easier. You just get better at pretending it doesn't matter. He left, probably to contemplate his future. I went back to maintaining my equipment, polishing boots, cleaning last gun, pressing uniform, the endless ritual that kept us alive. 2 days later, Kess failed a uniform inspection. A small stain on his collar, barely visible. He was executed on the parade ground at dawn. I stood in the firing squad. 6 men, perfect formation. My last gun was loaded. My aim was true. Ready, aim, fire. Kess dropped. I'd shot him center mass. Clean kill. He probably didn't feel anything. I felt nothing either. Just the mechanical completion of duty. The cycle continued. 5 years after my conscription, I was promoted to sergeant. Not because I was special, but because every sergeant above me had died. Some in combat, some executed for failures, some just dead from exhaustion or disease or suicide. Being a sergeant meant responsibility. I had a squad of 12 guardsmen under my direct command. Their discipline was my responsibility. Their appearance was my responsibility. Their survival was my responsibility. It also meant I had to enforce discipline myself, had to report infractions, had to authorize executions. The first time I had to execute one of my own men, I almost broke. His name was Ven. Good soldier, solid record, perfect discipline for 3 years. Then one morning during weapons drill, his lasgun fired 0.2 seconds slow. A tiny delay, barely noticeable. But Lieutenant Graf noticed. Sergeant Mikev. Yes, sir. Your man's weapon discharge was substandard? Yes, sir. Execute him? Sir, it was a minor... Did I ask for your opinion, Sergeant? No, sir. Then carry out the order. I drew my last pistol. Ven stood at attention, his face pale but controlled. He knew what was coming, knew there was no appeal, no mercy, no escape. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be," he said quietly. "Just make it clean." I shot him in the head. One shot. He dropped instantly. Later, filling out the paperwork, my hands shook for the first time in years, not from fear, from rage. Rage at the system that demanded this, rage at the officers who enforced it, rage at myself for following orders without question. But the rage passed. It always did. Because rage was useless. Rage changed nothing. Rage just got you killed. I buried the emotion, buried it with all the others, kept marching forward. The years blurred together, deployment after deployment, battle after battle, world after world. We fought orcs on Armageddon, heretics on Cadia, separatists on a dozen different worlds. The enemies changed, but the tactics stayed the same. Form perfect ranks, hold the line, fire synchronized volleys until the enemy broke, or we died. The Iron Guard's reputation grew. Other regiments heard stories about us, about the soldiers who never broke formation, who held ground against impossible odds, who looked like parade troops but fought like machines. Some admired us. Others thought we were insane. They were probably right. By the time I made Sergeant Major, I'd been in service for 20 years. I was 36 years old. Most guardsmen didn't live that long. The average life expectancy in the Imperial Guard was less than 15 hours of combat. I'd survived hundreds of engagements, thousands of combat hours. I was also dead inside. Everything that made me Talrin Mikev was gone, buried under decades of conditioning and violence. I was just a uniform now, a collection of regulations and procedures wrapped around bones and flesh. Commissar Vrel, assigned to our regiment, noticed this during one of his inspections. "Sergeant Major, you've served a long time." 20 years, Commissar. "You've seen a lot of death." "Yes, Commissar." "And yet you continue. Why?" I thought about the question. Really thought about it. Why did I continue? What kept me marching when so many others broke? "Because I don't know how to do anything else, Commissar. This is what I am. This is all I am. Remove the uniform, remove the discipline, remove the regiment, and there's nothing left. I'm not a person anymore. I'm just an Iron Guard." He studied me with cold eyes. "That's good, Sergeant Major. That's exactly what you should be. The Imperium doesn't need people. It needs soldiers. And you're one of the best soldiers I've ever seen." "Thank you, Commissar." "Don't thank me. I'm not complimenting you. I'm simply stating a fact. You've been successfully broken and rebuilt into a perfect instrument of the Emperor's will. You should be proud." But I wasn't proud. I wasn't anything. I was just tired. The final deployment orders came when I was 37. The 89th Mordian Iron Guard, or what remained of it, was being rotated back to Mordian for a final rotation. That was military speak for either being cycled into the training cadre or being quietly disposed of. Most Iron Guard veterans didn't survive to retirement. We died in battle or by firing squad or from the accumulated damage of decades of service. Those who did survive too long were usually considered liabilities. We knew too much, had seen too much, understood too well how the system worked. We were dangerous. The transport ship back to Mordian was half empty. The 89th had started with 5,000 men. We were returning with less than 800. 20 years of war, countless battles, uncountable deaths. These were the survivors, the toughest, the most disciplined, the most broken. Lena was still alive. She'd made captain, one of the few survivors from our original training group. She sat across from me in the transport hold, her uniform perfect even after 2 decades of war. Her face was lined now, aged beyond her years, but her eyes were still empty. "What do you think they'll do with us?" she asked. "Training cadre if we're lucky. Execution if we're not. Would you prefer death?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. Death would be a relief. But becoming a drill instructor, passing on what we know, making sure the next generation is as perfectly disciplined as we are, that might be worse. Condemning more young people to this life. We don't have a choice. We never did. She nodded. "Do you remember the first execution we saw? Harren with the loose button?" "Yes. Do you remember what you felt?" "Horror. Fear. Disbelief that they'd kill someone over something so small. And now, nothing. I'd execute him myself without hesitation if ordered. That's what they wanted. That's what the whole system is designed to create. Soldiers who feel nothing, question nothing, do anything. We became exactly what they needed. Yes. Was it worth it?" I looked at her for a long moment. I don't know what worth means anymore. I survived, that's all. The price was everything I was. But I survived. We arrived at Mordian 3 weeks later. The planet looked exactly the same as when I'd left. Eternal darkness on one side, burning light on the other. Billions of people crammed into the twilight zone, living in fear and scarcity and strict discipline. Home. We disembarked at Hive Tetrek, marching in perfect formation through the spaceport. Civilians watched us with awe and fear. The veterans of the 89th, home from war, still perfect after 2 decades. Still iron. Colonel Draston, now a general, met us at the assembly point. The 89th Mordian Iron Guard has served with distinction for 20 years. You have fought on 30 different worlds. You have never broken formation, never surrendered, never failed in your duty. The Tetrarchy recognizes your service. We stood at attention, waiting for the rest. Most of you will be assigned to training cadres. You will pass on your knowledge to the next generation of Iron Guard. You will ensure that Mordian's reputation for discipline continues. A few of you will be retained for active service in suppressing local uprisings. The rest will be retired. Retired. That was the euphemism. Executed or lobotomized and turned into servitors. The ones who'd seen too much, lasted too long, might ask dangerous questions. I was assigned to training Cadre 7, Sergeant Major Mikev, drill instructor, responsible for transforming terrified conscripts into perfect soldiers. The cycle would continue. I'd become the thing that had broken me 20 years ago. Lena was assigned to active suppression duty. We had one final conversation before being separated. "Try not to enjoy it," she said. "Enjoy what?" "Breaking the new recruits. Turning them into us. I can see it in your eyes. Part of you wants to hurt them the way we were hurt. Wants to make them suffer because we suffered. I don't want that." "Yes, you do. We all do. It's human nature. We were broken, so we want to break others. It makes the pain feel meaningful, like our suffering served a purpose." "And if I refuse?" She smiled, an empty expression that didn't reach her eyes. "Then you get retired. And we both know what that means." We saluted. Perfect military salute, holding it for exactly 3 seconds. Then we marched away to our new assignments, never to see each other again. My first training cycle began the next week. 100 fresh conscripts, all 16 years old, all terrified despite their blank faces. I stood in front of them in full dress uniform, every detail perfect, 20 years of experience in my bearing. "I'm Sergeant Major Mikev," I said. "For the next year, I am your instructor. I am your judge. I am your God. You will do exactly as I say, when I say it without question or hesitation. Failure to comply will result in punishment. Repeated failure will result in execution. Are there any questions? Silence. Perfect silence. Good. We begin with uniform inspection. I walked down the line, examining each recruit with the same cold precision that Sergeant Cale had used on me 20 years ago. Looking for any flaw, any weakness, any excuse to enforce discipline. I found a loose button on a girl's uniform. Small thing, barely noticeable. "You, step forward." She obeyed, terrified. I drew my last pistol, aimed at her head, saw her face, saw the fear, saw the sudden understanding that this was real, that she was about to die over a button. My finger touched the trigger. I stood there for 5 seconds. 5 seconds where I could choose, could show mercy, could be human, could break the cycle. Then I pulled the trigger. She dropped. The other recruits flinched. I holstered my weapon and continued the inspection. Anyone else have maintenance issues? Silence. Good. Morning drill begins in 30 minutes. Move. That night, alone in my quarters, I stood looking at my reflection in a polished metal panel. The face that looked back was hard, lined, empty. The eyes were gray and cold. The expression was blank. I tried to remember what I'd looked like at 16. Tried to remember the boy who'd been conscripted, who'd been terrified, who'd still had some humanity left. I couldn't remember. That person was gone, dead, replaced by this thing wearing a uniform. I was Mordian Iron Guard. Iron. Unbreakable. Perfect. Dead inside. This is my life. This has been my life for 20 years. This will be my life until I die or until they retire me. There is no escape, no relief, no hope for anything better. I am iron. I am discipline. I am the machine that creates more machines. I am what Mordian made me. The horrible truth is that I don't know if there's anything left to save. Some nights, standing on the parade ground, looking up at Mordian's eternal darkness, I think about that woman I saw when I was 7. The one who jumped. I understand her now. Understand that sometimes the only freedom left is the freedom to fall. But I don't jump. I keep marching, keep drilling, keep enforcing the discipline that destroyed me. Because that's what the Iron Guard does. We don't break. We don't fall. We just keep marching forward through the darkness, perfect and empty and dead inside. For the Emperor, for Mordian, for the iron necessity, for the horrible life that never ends.